Now, police have busted a cybercrime gang which helped criminals steal from victims using a fraudulent text messaging scheme. The gang's platform, LabHost, facilitated the scam by enabling the theft of personal information, including card numbers and PIN codes. Joining me now for more on this, The Sun's former online tech editor, Jasper Hamill, is with us. Jasper, afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
I mean, not a day goes past when we don't hear about another ruse or a scam of some sort, often involving WhatsApp and texting and that kind of thing. What happened here? Run through us what the mechanics of this particular one was all about.
Well, this was an international gang, and it appeared to have, the website is called LabHost, and it appeared to have been started in Britain. And this was a website anybody could access on the open internet. Often criminals hide on the dark web, which is kind of harder to access, and you can operate outside the realms of law enforcement. But this was available on the open web, so anyone could log on. And essentially what it was rent a cybercrime kind of service. They call this cybercrime as a service. So what you could do is, if you were a wannabe criminal, but maybe didn't have the skills, you could log on to this website and essentially rent some of the tools to scam people. So if you were, say, a student, for instance, that was short of a few bob, you could log on and start scamming people. And the numbers were truly frightening. They'd stolen 64,000 PIN numbers, £1 million worth of membership fees were paid, and they'd stolen 480,000 debit and credit card numbers. So it was a big affair, and they busted it today in Britain, or allegedly busted it. The leaders of it were arrested, one of which was an airport. And this is the result of a year-long investigation involving, I think, police from about 19 different countries. So it's a huge international affair.
And so they weren't just selling people's card details, because that's as old as it gets since the internet arrived, where you could buy that kind of stuff. They were actually selling mechanisms by which you could then go on to perform your own scams.
Yes, it's called phishing, which is a sort of a rather ugly word. It's Phishing, phishing. And what phishing involves is tricking people into handing over important information, such as credit card details, or even stuff like your national insurance number, or any sort of information that could be useful to criminals. And what you could do is you log onto this website, they'd give you the tools to carry out a phishing campaign. So that could be convincing looking messages. We don't actually know the companies that were spoofed, is the word for it, but that's not been announced. But so you could log onto this website, it would give you emails that looked like they'd come from a reputable company, a website that looked like it was owned by a reputable company, and then you could target people. You could do it as a sort of a side hustle, I guess. And the thing about services like this is they dramatically reduce the skill needed to earn big money from cybercrime. 10 years ago, it was very difficult to carry out cybercrime. Now I think it's getting easier and easier. And we see services like this where you can rent the tools for cybercrime, but now we're seeing the rise of artificial intelligence as well, which is further lowering the threshold. So really, we are possibly living or about to enter a golden age of cybercrime, and we're going to see more and more websites like this give scammers more and more convincing and powerful weapons, and therefore see more and more victims.
And of course, scammers know they haven't got to hook in everybody that they try to get, and that's the whole ethos behind the famous Nigerian Prince scam, which is the kind of one that we were all first familiar with, really. That still goes on, and you think, why does it still go on? Everybody knows about it. Well, not everybody knows about it, and that's the point, isn't it? It costs them nothing to fire off another 10 million emails, and if 3 people take it up, fine. It's a win-win. It doesn't matter. There will always be people. I mean, who would reply to something that says, we tried to deliver a parcel, but the postage was short, you need to pay £1.50? You'd think everybody knows that, but I would imagine, Jasper, there are people who don't.
No, there was a case in the newspaper there where a lady thought she was chatting I think she thought she was chatting to Gary Barlow. Gary Barlow wanted some money off her, and she ended up transferring large sums. Of course, it wasn't Gary Barlow. Why would Gary Barlow contact you out of the blue asking for money? I think he's got a few bob. So there is always somebody that will fall victim. And if you take, even if it's one case, one victim out of every 2,000 people targeted, it can be very, very profitable. I've spoken to people, clever, smart people that have lost their entire life savings to crypto scammers. And it's heartbreaking. I spoke to a business owner not that long ago, at the end of last year, and she was a very smart lady, ran her own business, and she'd just gotten in with a cyber scammer who kept telling her there's this fantastic crypto investment opportunity. If you send us this money, we're going to give you back 10 times what you've given us. And they rushed her into taking action, and then kept taking more and more and more money off her. And in the end, it was tens of thousands of pounds lost, and she felt obviously ashamed. And it was a clever person. It wasn't just the classic victim who, you think of someone who's 75, maybe isn't au fait with technology. Realistically, any of us could fall prey to a scammer at any time these days, and I fear we really need to be on the lookout, because they're going to get better, and the scams are going to get worse.
I don't think I'd fall for the Gary Barlow one, I have to say, Jasper. I think that one would. I mean, quite why the scammer decided to, of all people, why would you pick a multi-millionaire songwriter to randomly call someone asking for a few quid? I mean, doubtless there was a bit more to it than just that, but that does seem strange. But maybe it's the strangeness of it all was almost the sell, because somebody would thought, well, surely nobody would pretend they were Gary Barlow. Maybe that's how it worked. It was oddly quite simple.
I guess the more outrageous the claim, sometimes it works. The Nigerian Prince has often got more ambitious as well. So I got a Nigerian Prince scam once, and it told me the Nigerian Prince was stuck on the space station, and he needed 100 grand to sort of, to fund a rocket to come up and collect him. I mean, realistically, who's going to fall for a Nigerian Prince stuck on a space station? But I guess someone must. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it.
Well, I mean, that's clearly ridiculous, because I got one from the Nigerian Prince, and he was actually part of he was in a plane crash in the Himalayas. So I don't know why you would think, Jasper, he might be on a space station. We all knew he was in a plane crash in the Himalayas.
Well, yes, he's a very busy man, the Nigerian
Prince. Yes, a very unlucky one as well.
Yes, yeah, but he's obviously earning a lot of money from his endeavours. Otherwise, he wouldn't do it. It seems to me remarkable that people would fall for this. But I have to say that the lab host was a little bit more sophisticated. It wasn't Gary Barlow or Nigerian Prince.
No, indeed.
And it's stuff like that you've got to look out for. For instance, I spoke to a cybersecurity expert not long ago, and he said tiny little changes to the letters in a web address can it looks like it might be a reputable payment site, but actually they use a tiny little L rather than the large L that you would normally see in the URL, and that's enough to take you to a scam site. You hand over your password, they fleece you. They're very sophisticated.
Well, indeed, I was talking to somebody who was trying to open a bank account online, and of course that world is very different now, because there's lots of, we used to be able to name the banks. You know that there was NatWest, there was Santander and Barclays, etc. But now banks don't have those names. There's lots of the online banks, as you well know, are names that aren't familiar. They're not household names. They've started by equity funds, and they're all legit and they're all protected and all the rest of it. But you don't know that when you're going into it, because you think, well, hang on, here I am trying to deposit 5,000 quid just by downloading an app. Is it real? Is it not real? We've sort of arrived at peak cynicism, I suppose, and understandably so. It's better to be cynical and reserved rather than jump straight in.
Absolutely. That was actually one of the statements issued by the police in response to these arrests. They said that the problem with cybercrime, is that it reduces people's trust in the internet. And obviously a lot of our economy is dependent on the internet. And I think we are losing trust. You might rightly think, why would I bank with a bank that I've never heard of? I'm going to stick with the old-fashioned ones. I'm going to stick with my NatWest and Barclays because my mum banked with them. I've been banking with us since I was 16, and that's a shame actually, because you'd want the banking market to be more competitive. You'd want new banks to come along and challenge the incumbents, as they're called. And if we're all scared stiff that we're going to get scammed, then I think we're less likely to do that. So there is a genuine wider kind of economic impact of scams, and we don't know who to trust. Who are we going to trust in the end? And we're just going to trust the old people. Competition goes down, and society stays rigid.